Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's new comic book reviews. Yeah, sorry we're just running a little late. Unfortunately, the 9 to 5 job has been very busy. My coworker on the on my shift has she's been sick. She's getting better, but it's been a rough week. So we're still playing a little catch up. We're going to do some catch up from the stuff while I was away in Japan, which I'm hopefully trying to get things together, do little short videos of a lot of the photos that I took in Japan. It was an amazing trip. Anyways, that doesn't have anything to do with comics. We're here for comics this week. As always, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. So let's get to the new books this week. First up, we have something very special. A Batman Gotham After Midnight Deluxe Edition, written by Steve Niles with artwork by Kelly Jones. There's also the recent story from Batman Brave and the Bold, Enter the Abyss, which is written by Jackson Lansing and Kelly Collins with artwork by Kelly Jones. Now, this originally came out quite a few years ago, and it was a 12-issue miniseries, or maxi series, as they were called back in the day. And it obviously was Steve Niles writing it. It leaned a little bit more towards the horror vein of Batman, which was actually really amazing. And it's really great to get this really nice deluxe hardcover. Now, there was in Europe this company Taschen that had done hardcovers. I almost bought one from there. They're a little bit pricey to import from Britain. But thankfully I waited, and then not only is this the better of the two editions, because the Taschen edition just reprinted the 12 issues, but this not only reprints the 12 issues, it includes the recent story that Kelly had did the art for. And also their supplementary section in here. The really nice thing is there is the entire artwork, black and white artwork, original artwork from Kelly Jones for Enter the Abyss without any dialogue on it or anything. So that's really neat to see his original art. But it also has it reprints the first script by Niles with scans of his artwork, selected artwork from that first issue, and also there's character designs and stuff too. And as you all know, I'm a really huge fan of Kelly Jones, and this is a real treat. It was a really great series when it came out, and it was really great to kind of revisit it and kind of come back to it. And of course, Kelly's artwork is absolutely amazing, but Steve Niles wrote a really, really wonderful story. So I really you should check it out. It's $50, but I think it's a really good deal. I mean, you're getting 12 issues of a book plus a short story and the bonus material, supplementary material. So I think it's well worth the price of admission on that one. So that came out this week. So definitely check it out at your local comic shop. If not, should be able to still be ordered because, like I said, it just came out this week. So definitely check it out. That for me is really the book of the week. It's not a regular comic. It's not a floppy, but it's well worth checking out. And of course, it's one of many Batman books that came out this week. It's quite the Batman week, so we'll get to a lot of those later. Next up, we have Masterpiece #1, written by Brian Michael Bendis with artwork by Alex Malavey. So what it is Emma is this girl. She's 16 years old, and her parents have kind of disappeared. She doesn't know whether they're dead or not. She just doesn't really know them. And what it is she's in school. She gets kidnapped by this super rich billionaire, and so what she finds out is that her parents were these master criminals, master thieves, and they stole from him. And it's not so much that he wants the money back or what they stole. It's like he wants revenge on them. So he's using basically Emma to hopefully maybe flesh out the parents, because there's debate whether they're dead. So that's kind of the setup here. And we find out that Emma is not quite the pushover. and that there's as we learn at the end of this issue, there's kind of a mysterious person that obviously is connected to this whole thing with her parents and her and everything. And it was kind of an interesting first issue. I mean, obviously, Bendis and Malieve, they've worked together. They did Alias, and they've done other things. This was really interesting. This first issue is kind of a setup, so there's kind of that. But I think the big key, it sets up the story. We get to know Emma as a character, and I think it's off to a good start. I think it's worth checking out this week. Next up, we have Petrol Head #2, written by Rob Williams with artwork by Pi Par. Now, I really like the first issue on this, so I was excited to read the second issue and see how it built. So what it is Petrol Head. The basic story is he used to be a robot racer. They would race cars around the city, and it was fine if they died. Because they were just robots, except for the robots are sentient beings. So, if somebody, another robot crashed and died, the other robots felt it. Well, they don't do the races anymore, but Petrolhead has one of his basically now illegal cars. And what it is Lupa and her father's a scientist. He's created this nanotechnology that kind of the government, it's a post-apocalyptic world. And he doesn't want them to have it. So they end up at Petrolhead's shop. And so the second issue is really Lupa, he's Petrolhead has been found out that he has the illegal car. So they all take off in the car, and basically the chase ensues. So this issue is really kind of a chase, but it also kind of really builds this kind of relationship between Petrolhead and Lupa. So that's actually a big plus. It's kind of, how Williams is building the characters here. And really, I mean, the story's great, but really Par's artwork is just knockout. It's really good stuff. It's a gorgeous book. I'm really, really digging this book. It's got a really interesting story. Great artwork, still worth checking out. Definitely check this out. Next up, we have Titans Beast War #1 and Titans Beast War #2. Both they're written by Tom Taylor, with artwork with pencils by Ivan Reyes and inks by Danny Mickey. So this is another event comic. Because Tom Taylor's writing the regular Titans book, which I think is on hiatus again because of this. This is like 2 hiatuses in a row for a book that just kind of started. So that's a really bit frustrating because I was really enjoying the Titans book. But it seems to be this is kind of there's the main book, and then there's all these spin-offs, and the real premise here is that on I think it's Jupiter, there's this Starro type creature that Starfire knows because her people fought this thing, and the only reason that they won was because Starro came in. It was kind of like a beast war between the two of them, and he was able to weaken them enough so Starfire's people could they didn't really defeat him, but they put him on Jupiter in deep freeze. Well, he got out and he's heading towards Earth. And so he's very much like Starro, where he sends off like little things, like little stars. And what it is when they inhabit people, instead of like taking control like Starro, they turn into beast. They turn into animal monsters. And that's kind of, the basic setup. So the first issue sets all that up. Beast Boy turns into like a giant Starro to fight it and kind of, throw it off. But they, the little things get in there. And what we find out in the second issue is that they try to find the highest beast. So, they're trying to go for like, Batman gets infected, over Nightwing because he's more powerful. And so, there's all that going on. Look, it's a nice story and everything. But it's an event, and it's kind of like, first and foremost, you can just read the Titans Beast War. I don't think you really need to read any of the other ones. They're all just short stories of like, oh, well, this person's fighting this monster, or this beast or whatever. So that's really just side stuff. I think my bigger issue is, one, the Titans just started. Now it's having an event. I mean, past the nightmare event that shut it off for 2 months. Let the book have a chance. I mean, on the plus side, I mean, Tom Taylor's writing it, and once and the story's fine and everything. It's just that it's like I really just want the Titans to be their own book, and once again, it goes back to these events that they try to goose sales. And I know it's probably going to sell well. And like I said, I don't think it's bad. I think it's just, it's another event. And I think if you had been reading the Titans, you could pretty much skip this event if you so desire. I will say on the plus side, Ivan Reyes' art he's always really nice. It's really a good looking book. But it just feels like, okay, that's nice. Here's this story. And then we'll get back to your regular scheduled program. So it's a bit frustrating for me. I think the books are fine. But it's just, I don't think this event is really particularly necessary. Next up, we have Underheist #1, written by Maria and David Lapham, with artwork by David Lapham. So what this is David he has this huge gambling debt. And so he's a construction worker. They're working on the tunnels, subway tunnels. And, he's not even really making ends meet, and he's trying to figure out how to pay off his debt. And he stumbles across that there's this bank heist that's going to be coming up, because of the construction. It's going to be under the bank. Well, he decides to kind of get this group of his friends together to, basically, steal the money from the thieves that are stealing the money from the bank. And, so there's, so that's the basic setup. So, when they go to get the bank robbers to steal from them, it doesn't quite go well because these guys aren't really, really good at this whole thing. But there's kind of this weird supernatural kind of undertone that's kind of not really at the forefront, but there's kind of something going on kind of underneath. It's really interesting. This first issue is a big setup. There's a lot of dialogue here. But I think it needs to, because there's a lot that Marie and David are kind of getting across in this first issue for the story. Lapham is obviously he's really known for Stray Bullets, and if you've never read Stray Bullets, go out and find Stray Bullets. It's amazing. But I think it's an interesting setup. I wouldn't say that I was 100% sold on this first issue, but I do like the premise, and as always, I think Lapham's artwork is really, really nice. So I think it's worth checking out, especially if you're into the kind of crime thing. But I like the little supernatural undertone that's like going on. So we'll kind of see where that goes. Next up, we have Batman City of Madness #2, written and drawn by Christian Ward. So what we have found out, from the first issue and in the second issue, that there's the Gotham, above, and then there's kind of an opposite, kind of a, darker Gotham underneath. So that's where, this Batman Below comes from, and so what it is there's kind of a hole, the hole has opened between the two, kind of universes, and the darker Gotham, if you can say that, there is a darker Gotham, is seeping in to the upper Gotham. And so the Court of Owls has been they've always kept this kind of under control or behind the wall, and that wall is broken. So now Batman has to team up with Talon from the Court of Owls to basically try to fix this whole thing. And so that's really kind of what is happening in the second issue. Ward is building on the story from the first one. And, first of all, his artwork's amazing. It's a gorgeous looking book. He recently did the Aquaman Andromeda with Ram V. His artwork is absolutely fantastic, but he's actually, pretty darn good writer here. I think he's come up with some interesting ideas. Obviously, a lot of, artists that become writers, they do a Batman story because he's kind of somewhat easy to write, and he's easy to, make a story out of. So it makes sense that Ward did this. And it's working. I enjoy it. I like the magazine size, especially because his artwork's absolutely just gorgeous. And it's still worth checking out. It's a really gorgeous book with a really intriguing story, and I like how it's all kind of folding together. So definitely still worth checking out. Next up, we have Beneath the Trees, #2, written and drawn by Patrick Horvath. So what we so basically think of like cute little animals, Care Bear. No, not just Care Bears. But like all these cute little animals, and it's like Dexter. It's like this weird murder serial killer thing. That's just, the concept's kind of off the hook. I mean, the concept's basic, but making them like cute animal people is just insane, but like in a totally good way. And so what it is that we found in the first issue that Sam, who owns she owns a hardware store. Every once in a while she goes into the city to kill somebody. It's just kind of like her outlet for the normalcy of this small town. Well, now at the end of the first issue, there was a murder. They were having a parade, and there was one of the big town people was killed. So now there's a serial killer in their small town. And so they're trying, there's, people are freaking out and everything. And then Cherry Gurkison, she's a pig, and she's like, she's kind of like the Karen of the town. That's the easiest way to explain it. She's a Karen. And she's got all these crazy theories of like, maybe the guy who was on the float killed him, and the sheriff's not doing anything. And so I think because of that, the new serial killer in town goes after her, and it does not go well. I really love this book. This book is really amazing. I read the first issue, and once again, it starts off very cute and fuzzy. You have these animal people, and then it just turns into this weird serial killer thing. And Horvath just really builds nicely on this. And also, the other thing that's really great with Samantha is, she's worried that people are going to discover that she's like a serial killer, and she's not killing, the people in the town. She specifically goes to the big city where, it's just murder. People die all the time. People disappear. It's no big deal. But in a small town, it's a big deal. So she's actually now trying to find the other serial killer. It's like serial killer versus serial killer. So it's really amazing. And his artwork is this is a really gorgeous book. I cannot recommend this book enough. I really, really enjoy this book, and definitely check it out. Next up, we have Batman Santa Claus Silent Night #2, written by Jeff Parker, with artwork by Michelle Bandini and Trevor Hairsine. So this is a 4-issue miniseries. It's gonna, it's going, for the 4 weeks in December. And so what it is that so Superman, or what we find out is that Santa Claus and Krampus are they're kind of interrelated. They're kind of stuck in the real world, and basically Krampus has kind of gone on the rampage. He's kind of pissed that Santa Claus gets all the glory, So now Santa Claus is teaming up with, the Batman family to basically, go after the Krampus who's, creating all this chaos in the world. And so that's the basic premise. The second issue, builds nicely on the first issue. Parker does a good job of, kind of building and also continuously telling the backstory of how Santa and Krampus are kind of related, which is really neat because of the whole Krampus mythology, and of course the Santa mythology too. And I'm really digging it. Once again, it's kind of on its own. It's just a 4-issue miniseries, which is kind of a nice thing for this. It's kind of set at Christmas time. It's really, I think it's fun, and Bandini and Harrison's art is really, really nice. It's a fun book. Once again, it's kind of, it's going to be a one and done. With it being 4 issues, you can either pick up the individuals, or I'm sure there'll be a trade of it coming out. But it's kind of fun, and I like the mixing of kind of the holiday with Batman. It's fun. Next up, we have Wesley Dodd, Sandman, number 3, written by Robert Venditti, with artwork by Riley Rossmo. So what we learn is that Dodd, has created this gas that it's really, deadly gas, but he really doesn't want to use it because, it's deadly. He wants to, Sandman pretty much gasses people to knock them out. So, police can arrest him and stuff like that. Well, he's discovered these kind of really toxic gases. And so somebody went into his house and stole the gases and the book that had them all. So now he's trying to figure out what's going on, why, who's doing it and behind it. So his first stop in this issue is he goes to the morgue for the person that supposedly broke into the house and did all this. That he finds out that person was all a setup. So that person did not actually do it. That person was dead before, they just threw the body in there and, it caught on fire, but he wasn't killed by the fire. So Wesley Dodd goes back to the house, and the villain of the story, the Fog, shows up, and there's the Battle of the Sandman. So it's, once again, I'm really digging this. I'm a big fan of Riley Rossmo's. I mean, the artwork's just amazing. He just really, he's knocking it out of the park. But I like what Venditti's doing with the story. It's a period piece. I'm a sucker for period pieces, and it's a lot of fun. It's just, I think what I like about it, it's the type of book, it doesn't aim for the super, this is going to be the greatest comic you ever read. It's just one of those, it aims for the middle and nails it. I mean, it's a good, solid, it's kind of a mystery book. You have, just Golden Age Sandman, which is always cool. It's just really working for me. I really dig it, and I'm loving what Venditti and Rossmo are doing here. So I still think it's well worth checking out. Next up, we have Danger Street number 11 and Danger Street number 12, both written by Tom King with artwork by George Fornes. So once again, as I've always said with every issue that I've reviewed, you need to have read this from the first issue to get what's going on. I think the most interesting thing, now that this series is finished, is how methodical that King has kind of done this story. It's kind of a story, it's a story, the brief history of it. There was, in the 70s, there was a book called First Issue Special, and I think it was 12 or 14 issues, and it was 12 issues. That's why this is 12 issues. And what it was is different characters in there: Metamorpho, the Green Team, Dingbats of Danger Street, Dr. Fate, Lady Cop, a bunch of others. So what he has done is he's taken all those characters and weaved them all into this giant story. And what's most interesting about this story is that it doesn't have a big blowout ending, which is great because that's the way the book has kind of been. It's always been kind of following this path that it's been on, just a solid, steady path about all these characters and forming a story where, all these characters didn't connect, but he's made a story that does connect them all. And it's been amazing. Fornes has been knocking it out of the park. I mean, to juggle all these different characters has been really impressive visually. And it ends on such a great note where, in a lot of ways, basically they have to save the universe. In simple terms, that's kind of the story. And the way that he has it end, it's not this big, they're going to go fight Darkseid or go fight this giant monster. No, it's just about them, the ups and downs, the sacrifices that they made and will make. That's what it's all about. And it's just, it was really amazing. And I think it's also one of those books, and a lot of Tom King's books are like this, to go back and reread it in one shot will be amazing. Now, I know that there's a trade of the first 6. I'm sure there'll be a trade of the second 6. And then I can almost guarantee, I will no promises, but I'm hoping. And I really think that there'll be a hardcover deluxe version down the road after the second trade comes out, because a lot of Tom King books have been doing that. But definitely, I really recommend this book. It's going to be impossible to find the pretty much the individual issues, but I know the first trade of the first 6 issues is, so you can go get that right now. So, but I really love this book. Bravo to Tom King and George Furnez for just knocking this out of the park with these bizarre characters from the DC universe. It's just been wonderful in my humble opinion. Next up, we have Disney Villains Hades #4, written by Elliot Kalan, with artwork by Alessandro Randoldi. So I'll try to make this as quick as possible. The recap is Hades is trying to get the Golden Fleece because the Golden Fleece will grant Yeti wishes. He gets this ragtag team, and then there's also, kind of, it's not Hercules, but it's like kind of a big Bohunk character gets the idea he wants to get the fleece. Medusa gets involved. And basically now, this issue, they're all where the fleece is, but the fleece is guarded by this dragon. So they have to defeat the army of the skeletons, try to get past the dragon to get the fleece. That's what the setup here is. And there's a hilarious recap, kind of a musical recap at the beginning, because one of Hades' flunkies is a horrible musician, but he can make the dragon go to sleep with his horrible music. So this issue is just all hell breaks loose. Everybody's trying to go for the fleece. Last issue, they kind of ran into Medusa, pissed her off, so now she's really involved in the whole thing. And I will say, without giving too much away, somebody gets a golden fleece, but eventually Hades gets it and basically blows everybody off, because it's all about him, of course. And so now he's got the fleece. But everybody is now coming after him because he's just pissed them off and screwed them at the same time. So that's what's going on. I have to give it to Kalan. He came up with a really great story for Hades, and without including Hercules, which makes perfect sense for this story. Rinaldi's artwork is really, he's really captured, it's a very cartoony style, but he captures like the fun and the chaos of all this. This issue visually is just like in your face with like the battles and Medusa. It's crazy stuff, and it's really, I'm digging this book. And apparently, the next issue is going to finish off. So I think this is actually a miniseries now. Whether they do more down the road, but I like that it makes sense to do this as and if this is sold well enough, do another another set of story, like another miniseries with it. But I'm really digging this book. Honestly, I'm very surprised. Dynamite's done really well with the Disney license. And if you're a fan of Hercules and Hades, definitely pick up this book. Next up, we have Nightwing 108, written by Tom Taylor with artwork by Stephen Byrne. Now, this is one of the catch-up books, so we're trying to catch up because I think Nightwing comes out next week or in the next couple weeks. So we're still in the Nightwing pirate story. So Bay has, she's the captain of the pirates now. And so she's taking Nightwing to the secret pirate city, which you would think is like all chaos and everything. No, it's this really nice city with a coffee shop and everything. And so you find out that Lucas, who is the natural son of the previous captain, because basically the captain handed over to B, and B, he kind of adopted her. So Lucas has always been pissed about this, and now he's out for revenge. So once they get to the city, it does not go well because Lucas is pissed, and he's basically he's doing a revolt against Bay and the current captain. So that's what's kind of going on. And now, Dick is, all involved with this whole thing. And it's really been a lot of fun. I like the fact that, he's wearing like this open, pirate shirt and everything. I really love what Tom Taylor's doing. I think Stephen Byrne's doing a really nice job on the artwork. I know I've seen that I think Bruno's going to be doing another book, so I don't know if he's going to be back, but Byrne's doing a good job. If he stays in the book, I'm perfectly happy. As long as you have good, consistent art, if you have to change an artist for whatever reason, get an artist that not so much is like him, but is able to do just as well as he did. And I think Byrne's really doing a nice job here. So kudos to him for kind of coming into this onto this book. He's doing a really nice job, and I really like the pirate storyline. It's a lot of fun. So, and I love Nightwing. I think it's probably, honestly, it's one of the best DC books going right now. So definitely continue to check it out. Next up, we have Batman Gargoyles of Gotham, #2, written and drawn by Raphael Grandpa. So there's kind of a new villain in town, but we kind of find out that villain is not really the main villain in this issue. We also learn that Bruce has a really dark past, that when it was when he was still a little kid after his parents were shot, he was very violent and kind of went nuts. And so there was a doctor at Arkham, Dr. Quentin, that basically, made him basically repress these memories. And as we saw in the first issue, like things can trigger Bruce to like become, like crazy and super violent. And so what we learn, Alfred tells him about this kind of secret, and he tells him because it's kind of coming back in a way, it's bubbling up and it's kind of affecting Bruce. And so while that's going on, Gordon's still trying to figure out what's going on with, the what we thought was the main villain's not the main villain. And there's something along the lines with a church and a priest. I don't want to really give too much away, but there's a lot going on in this issue. Story-wise, it's kind of building up to build the story. Grandpa's doing a really great job of building on that first issue, where we thought, okay, it's just him and then the bad guy and everything. And we find out in this issue, there's a lot more going on than we thought. And I really like that. I really love the first issue. Obviously, Grandpa's artwork is amazing. That's really the big initial selling point. But I think he's really written a really intriguing story. And it's, once again, this is a Black Label book, so it's out of continuity. And so he's able to do things that he wouldn't otherwise be able to do like in regular continuity. And that's why this book is so amazing. So definitely continue to check it out. I know it's kind of tough on a bi-monthly schedule because it's been 2 months since the first issue, but if you can find the first issue, definitely check it out. I really dig this book and it's gorgeous. Next up, we have Dark Spaces Dungeon #2, written by Scott Snyder with artwork by Hayden Sherman. So the basic premise here is that Detective Maddock was what this serial killer does is he kidnaps people, puts them in a dungeon, and then tortures them. He doesn't necessarily kill them right away. Basically what it is the room that he puts them in has blocks, and it basically kind of can break their bones, squish them and stuff like that. So what we found out in the first issue is Detective Maddock was kidnapped as a kid. He actually escaped. So now he is seeking revenge on this serial killer, and he gets there's this dad Tyler and his family. He stumbles across he finds one of the dungeons when he's out running. So now the serial killer is kind of after him in his family. So Matt, he's working with Maddock, and so they go to the desert, because they've gotten a tip that there's a dungeon out in the desert. So they find it, but things are not what they seem. That's all I'll say, because I certainly don't want to give anything away. But I really like what Snyder's doing here. I really, it's kind of somewhat of, the basic murder mystery sort of plot. You're trying to find the bad guy and everything. But there's so many layers kind of like underneath with the torture, with Maddock being, a previous kidnappee. The story with, Tyler's family. There's a lot going on here, but I really, really dig this, what Snyder's doing here. And Sherman's artwork is really, really nice. He's a really great artist. And he's able to, a lot of it, people are standing around talking. And once again, he's able to get those expressions, conveyed through the artwork, and it's really a good book. I'm very surprised by this. I'm really liking the Dark Spaces books that Snyder's curating over at IDW, and it's definitely worth checking out. It's creepy, and it's really, really, really good. So definitely check it out. Next up, we have Batman number 428, Robin Lives, written by Jim Starlin with pencils by Jim Aparo and inks by Mike DiCarlo. So now we all know that back in the day, this was a 4-issue kind of story arc within there where Jason Todd was killed by the Joker. And so, it was a Batman death in a family. It was a big storyline. And so what it was is back then there was a 900 number that you could call to vote for whether Robin lived or died. Well, Jason Todd was not particularly well loved back then. And so it was an overwhelming vote to kill him. But because of the time, the lead time to print the book and do the artwork, it was actually the story was done two ways because they ultimately didn't know which way the voting was going to go. So when the votes for to kill him was, so they used that artwork for that particular issue. Now this is sort of a facsimile edition in a way because it reprints everything, but there are three pages that were not printed where Jason lived. So those are printed in this. So it's a facsimile edition, but it's also like a different. It's kind of new. Now, those pages have been reprinted in the past in collections to show the difference, but this is the first time that it's been printed as if that Jason Todd would have lived back then. So it's the exact representation because, like I said, it's literally, there's only 3 pages that are different in the book. The rest of the book is identical. It's really an interesting thing in history, because you actually get to see the comic as it might have been intended. That's the best way to put it, because obviously we all know 428 Jason died. So it reprints the letter page and everything. It's really a fascinating look in history because as far as I know, this was a very unusual thing, and it was a big thing in the past. So, and of course it's very well known because of the death in the family story. So it's worth checking out. I mean, it's like I said, you have to remember it's only 3 pages that are different, but it's a neat look into an alternate version of history, comic history. So that's really what it's about. And finally this week we have Firepower 29, written by Robert Kirkman with artwork by Chris Samnee. Once again, one of my favorite books. This is the next last issue. Owen and his family has defeated the dragon, but apparently the dragon cannot be defeated. It's just like they kind of knocked it out. So they find out that they basically need to re-trap it, to put it back into hibernation. And so that's really, leading up to the next issue, which is the final issue. I really don't want to say anymore because I don't want to ruin any parts of the story, but I love this book. It's one of my favorite books. I'm sad that it's over, but I'm glad that it has a finite story. A lot of comics don't have that. They just kind of go on and on. I'm glad that Kirkman and Samnee are, have a story that has a beginning, middle, and end. The ending has been really great so far. It'll be really fantastic to see how it ends with the next issue. But I know that there's trades of, not necessarily super up to date, but you can definitely, I cannot recommend this book enough. I really love it. I'm not the hugest fan of Robert Kirkman. I think he's a decent, good writer. But this book is, I think, one of his best. I think that has a lot to do with Samnee and their kind of, creative on this book. It's really spectacular. Like I said, go out and pick up the trades. I think the first trade's actually pretty cheap. But it's definitely been a really good run. I'm very excited for the last issue. That's going to do it this week. A little shorter, thankfully, not as many books. It was a little bit of a light week. We're still playing some catch up. I'll try to do some more next week. We'll see. With the holiday, we'll kind of see where the video lands. Cause it'll be kind of crazy the next couple weeks with kind of the holidays and stuff. But I will try to do, review videos as best as I possibly can. And as always, we end our show, or we're not ending the show quite yet, because we have a public service announcement that I get all my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics in Long Beach, California. Ryan Skinner runs a great store. He's the owner. There's Wendy, there's Annie, there's Derek. It's a great store. Definitely check them out if you're in the Long Beach area. If you have some time off from the holidays and you live in the LA area, definitely stop by. Tell Ryan I sent you. It's a really good store. And he has a great pull service, so you don't miss any books. He offers discounts on trades, hardcovers, and graphic novels. Has a really nice manga selection. He's really been beefing up the young adult section. He also has a section of local comic creator books, so that's really awesome too. Keeping it local and supporting creators, and that's a sign for me, a sign of a great comic book store owner. And as always, we end our show with be kind to each other. I know the holiday seasons can be really tough, but being kind is simple. It's free. I know there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. It's crazy. But being kind and being kind to yourself, definitely take care of yourself. It's very, very important. And like I said, it's a tough time of the year for some people. For some people, it's a very joyous season. Some people, it's a tough season for different reasons. But as always, take care of yourselves, be kind to yourselves and others. Just take care of yourselves and take care of others. That's going to do it this week. Thanks for watching. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like and comment, share the videos. It's always appreciated. And that's going to do it this week. This is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com signing off. We'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.